Hiring the wrong people in your business can take $1 million business and create pure chaos. And the best business idea could not work with the wrong people helping to move the ship forward. And according to Career Builder, the cost of hiring the wrong employee will cost you about $17,000. And as a small business owner, it could be a lot worse because you may only have 1 or 2 employees. So if 50% of your team sucks, that can ruin your business. On the other hand, hiring the right people at the right time will not only make you more money, it will buy back your time and allow you to spend more time on the things that you enjoy, whether in the business or personally. They'll make your life easier, and you'll find that the things you would stress out about and worry, you don't have to worry about those things anymore. You'll find that your business starts growing more and making more money because you're focusing on the right things that bring in more sales and help to improve your profit margins. So what are the juicy tips and strategies to find and hire the best people in your business? Where do you find them? How do you interview them? And what else can you do to make sure you bring on the right people at the right time? Let's dive into that. In the last 6 years or so, I've probably hired about 50 or so people in my businesses. But before that, I had a whopping 0 experience in hiring people. So when I opened my first franchise business and needed to hire 15 people before opening the store, I was just gonna have to learn trial by fire. Now that was back in 2017, and since then, what I've learned is that in most businesses, you're gonna hire a mix of people, and how you hire depends a lot on who you're hiring. For example, how I hired 20-year-olds to work at my juice and smoothie bar is different than how I hire full-time salary employees in my business now. And that's different from how I hire contractors or agencies. Does that make sense? So the first key in hiring is being flexible in your approach based on who you're hiring. This is so important. If you have the wrong expectations or process, you can blow the whole thing up and lose out on hiring the really good people. Now, there's a couple of core concepts to understand with hiring. The first is hire to buy back your time. Now, I've been listening to this incredible book by Dan Martell called Buy Back Your Time. And the entire concept is don't hire just to grow, but hire specifically to buy back your time from doing things that you suck at or that are an energy suck for you or that don't move the needle forward in your business. Sometimes business owners will say, well, I can't afford to hire someone. The rebuttal to that is you can't afford not to hire someone. The most successful entrepreneurs that I know see hiring as an investment, not a cost. And when you do it right, it will allow you more time and energy to grow your business. So the first example is when I owned my juice bars. In the beginning, I was doing inventory every week, which took about 2.5 to 3 hours, and I'd spend 30 minutes counting things that we kept in our walk-in freezer. It sucked because I hate the cold. And I created and managed the schedule for all of our employees every week. It would take hours. And if you've ever had hourly employees in a retail environment, you know that people are constantly swapping shifts and saying, oh, I forgot, I need this day off, or I gotta come in later, etc. So I hired a manager to take over those specific duties in the business. This allowed me to work on creating marketing events and working with my franchisor on ways to grow the business. It also freed me up from working on Sundays, which is the day that we would do our inventory. But here's the important element of buying back your time and where people mess it up. If it's a stretch to hire that person in your business financially, but you do it and you make the hire, and then now you fill in that extra time you have with things that don't move the needle forward in the business, what happens? The business doesn't grow, sales don't grow, profits don't grow, and then you find yourself working just as much, but now making less money because you hired someone and you reinvested your time into doing the wrong things. I did this by hiring a manager in my location in Florida. I hired a manager, paid him 50 grand a year, which was a big stretch with where our sales were at that time. And I decided to be really smart. And after I hired him, I started to play golf every day. Like I was freaking retired. Guess what? Sales didn't grow. And since I was mentally checked out, things started declining in the business. Here's what would have made more sense. Ideally, I would have used that time to generate business. Plan marketing events and campaigns, go hit up local businesses to secure catering jobs and do things that were going to grow the business. Now, one of the things I never knew about until recently was that there are business grants out there to cover your costs in hiring and training your employees that you don't have to pay back. If you want to learn more about how that works and schedule a free consultation, you can go to franchiseempire.com/ Biz Grants. The link is also down below. The second thing you need to know is to hire your opposite. Now, if you're really good at sales and marketing and really outgoing, you probably need to hire someone who is good with operations and detail, and vice versa. The mistakes that entrepreneurs make is that they hire people that they like and who think the same way and have similar skill sets. So what happens? You're really good at operations and you hire someone else to do operations too. Now you have a perfectly run business that sales aren't growing. And this is why big companies have, a CEO and a COO. The CEO is focused on the vision, big ideas, making sure the business is growing. And the COO is focused on the day-to-day operations and making sure that things are running smoothly. This allows you to buy back your time to reinvest more into high leverage needle movers in your business. Think of Alex and Layla Hormozi. Alex is incredible with sales and marketing. Layla is great at operations and running the day-to-day of the business. This is part of their success. They complement each other well. So when I started my online business and helping people unfulfilled in their career find and launch a franchise, I first hired for the stuff I hated doing, which was video editing at first. That allowed me more time to focus on making more content and doing things to get clients. As I did that, my sales started to grow. Then I hired a contractor that would work with me 30 hours a month because that was all I could afford at the time. And she would do all the tech stuff with our website and scheduling and sending emails and all the stuff that was super frustrating and hard for me to figure out. To be honest, it was scary at the time and it wasn't even that much money, but the business, I was still figuring out everything with the business as I went along. Unlike my franchises where I had a proven game plan to execute on, this business, I was building everything from scratch. Okay, so those were the two foundational parts of hiring that you needed to know so that we can now build on that. Oh, one thing that I forgot. When you're buying back your time, figure out your hourly rate and anything that you can hire or outsource for 25% of your rate, and then do that. So as an example, take your total income for what your business pays you, then divide it by 2,000 working hours, and that will get you to your hourly rate. So if your business pays you $100,000 a year, that's $50 an hour. 25% of that is $12.50 an hour. So everything that you do that is a $12.50 an hour task and below, you then need to outsource so you can buy back your time. Okay, so now you are ready to hire some people. How do you go about doing that and finding the right people? Now, the first thing is to be very clear on who you're looking to hire. Not just the role and job description, but the characteristics of the person and personality style overall. Write down the most ideal avatar of who you want to hire. Best case scenario. If it's someone in operations, you're writing down, this person is detail oriented. They're always one step ahead of me. They're calm and organized in chaotic situations, etc. Now, when you write the job description, you want to speak directly into the soul of who you're looking to hire, and you want to repel people that don't align with what you want. And what you're doing here is you're playing to your strengths. Some people like working for big companies with lots of benefits and employee perks and a large team and corporate culture. Other people hate that, and it's the furthest thing that they want. So speak to that. In one of our recent job postings for a full-time management position, here's just a few of the things that I put in the job description. Number one, you like working for small, scrappy companies. The big corporate type of environment is not for you. Number two, you take tremendous pride in your work. Good is annoying to you. You go above and beyond in everything that you do, not just your work. You seek to be the best, and that's who you want to work with as well. Number three, you are incredibly resourceful and get it done no matter what. You always find a way. So that's our culture here, and that's who I want to attract. Now, there will be people who read that job post and go, nope, not for me. Or people who go, aha, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, what happens is that makes you even more attractive as a potential employer, because the best candidates will usually have options and they need to choose to come work for you. They are interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them. Have you ever offered someone a position and they go, sorry, I found another job that's a better fit or whatever it was, and you're like, damn it, I really wanted that person. Well, here's a tactic for you that's been game changing for us. I've found that some of our best team members came through referrals and our warm market. So as a best practice, whenever you're hiring, ask around to your network. Let them know, hey, I'm hiring for XYZ role and looking for people with XYZ skill sets. Does anyone come to mind? About 50% of the people on our team currently came through referrals and warm introductions. Pretty crazy. Now, another tactic is to actually message people who fit the profile you're looking to hire. They often have peers that do similar work to them, and you never know when they themselves are looking for a change. This is how we landed our current director of marketing. I messaged someone I knew and said, hey, I'm looking to hire a director of marketing. Know anyone? He replied, actually, I'm interested, tell me more. I still did go out and interview a bunch of other people, but he was clearly the top candidate, and I knew he fit our culture. So next up is you need to have all of your candidates do a personality assessment. Why? Because everyone has their own hardwiring on how they think and behave, and just their God-gifted abilities that they're naturally good at and wired for. For example, I've always been a strategic thinker. Operations comes naturally to me. Details come naturally to me. Sales and marketing didn't. Now, I've worked really hard to get good at sales and marketing, but I default to loving operations. So in whatever role you're going to hire for, there is a specific wiring and DNA that you're looking for. You must know this and then be able to understand which profiles your candidates are. Now, this is where flexibility comes in. I didn't do personality profiles for the juice bar. If someone came into the interview and was smiling and outgoing, I could see what their personality was. And the store had a lot of turnover, right? So we just wanted to hire people as quickly as possible, knowing that, 3 months from now, they may not be here. But for a manager for my store, yes, 100%, I would do a profile. And there's a lot of different profiles out there. DISC is really popular. You have Myers-Briggs and all kinds of other ones. I personally love DISC profiles. I think it's really simple and I understand it well. We actually use a special profile assessment that has DISC as a part of it for all of our clients, which helps us understand how they're wired and what businesses or franchises that match them. You can take the assessment for free to get an understanding of how you're wired by clicking the link below. Now, to explain DISC profile in short, D is for someone who's dominant and decisive. Think of your typical competitive type A personality. Now, if you're hiring someone in management who will need to make decisions, you want to see that they are high D, right? Or else what's going to happen is they're always going to come to you for, should I do this? Should I do that? And you're like, dude, make the decision. That maybe they don't have enough high D. Now, I is for influence. This is someone outgoing and just tends to be enthusiastic, optimistic, etc. This is your extrovert or someone in sales or customer service. Now, S is for steadiness. This is someone who is calm. They're very deliberate in things and they don't like to be rushed. This person is typically great at operations. Now, C is for conscientiousness, and this is someone who is focused on quality and details and accuracy. This person is also good at operations or anything that requires precision. So when we were going to hire a full-time salesperson, I knew I wanted someone who was high D and high I, which meant that they probably wouldn't be great at details. Now, on the other hand, we just hired a full-time operations tech. They'll be managing and building out technology and automations. It requires high attention to detail. So what do you think we measured for? High C. Our team had actually narrowed it down to 3 people, and one of them was a high I and a low C. One of the things I know about high I's is that they're typically not great at details and following directions. And it drives me crazy as a high D person who's pretty type A. So I let them know, hey, if we hired that person, they'd be really friendly and fun to work with, but we would be correcting their work every day. Their attention to detail would be terrible. Now, this is a real hack and time saver into hiring the right people. Generally speaking, I found that the DISC profile has a high degree of accuracy, and when in doubt, have someone take it twice. So the question is, what profile do you need for the role that you're hiring for? Now, next up is a test project or just some sort of obstacle. Now, for us, that varies depending upon what role that we're hiring for. When we were hiring for a full-time video editor a long time ago, we narrowed it down to a few people and then had them actually edit a video for us. Now, when you do this, you want to provide a very clear instructions with a deadline. And this allows you to see a few things that are really interesting. Number one, do they ask for questions? Do they ask follow-up questions or get clarification? Do they follow the instructions? How do they communicate while completing the task? Do they finish on time? We had a guy that was at the top of our list and submitted a partially completed edit. He said, "Oh, sorry, I got too busy." That made a hard decision really easy. We recently paid our top 3 operations candidates to do a week-long test project. Our team tracked their work, mistakes, and rated them on specific criteria. This allowed us to clearly and confidently hire the best candidate. Test projects are a game changer. Sometimes people have test projects done, they don't pay people. It really depends on what we're having them do, but we generally like to have them do something meaty, pay them a fair wage for it, and then be able to really get an idea of how they work. Now, another tactic is to hire people that work for your competition. Imagine being able to bring someone on who's ready to rock and roll, performs well, and that can provide valuable insights about the industry and competition. Big tech companies do it all the time. They poach top engineers and employees from each other. Now look, business is not for the faint of heart, guys. Now let's just be real and acknowledge that sometimes part of finding and hiring the best person is actually hiring the wrong person first. Obviously, you're not going to do it intentionally, and ideally you can avoid that with some of the tools that we've given you in this video, but just know that if you hire the wrong person, it's okay. When you acknowledge that to start, it takes some of the pressure off during the hiring process. If you do hire the wrong person, the way that you figure that out is you want to give clear and immediate feedback early on. Now, I've made the mistake by being passive aggressive or just afraid to have a tough conversation with someone. When you have clear objectives, tasks, and performance expectations, you can have an objective conversation around what was agreed upon and what is not happening. It takes some of the fear out of having some of those conversations. In my experience though, people overall don't change who they are unless they have an incredibly strong internal desire to do so. So if you hire someone and find that they are sloppy and miss a lot of details, newsflash, you aren't going to change them. No matter how much you try to coach them to be better with details, they'll probably still suck at it. Why? Well, maybe it's because they're a high I and have very little C. It's just how they are wired. It's possible they are the right person, but just not for that specific position. Like there's a concept called right person, right seat. Einstein said, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Sometimes people just need to be in a different role that better suits how they are wired. Now, ultimately, there will come a time where you would need to let someone go. In my experience, it's never fun or an easy decision to make, even if the person gets on your nerves. But when you fire and hire, you want to do it based on core values that you've created for your company. When you go down the list one by one and ask if this person on your team embodies your core values, it becomes clear if they need to go. This happened to us. We hired someone and he was just struggling, not following directions very well, doing things really slow. The work was mediocre, and our team had a conversation and realized he didn't match up with our core values. One of them was he kept making excuses. And one of our core values is extreme ownership. Own it, don't make excuses. Another is proactive, and he wasn't being that. So the decision became really easy. I mean, even though he was a great guy, and I genuinely enjoyed being around him and talking to him. Now, all of these things should help you grow your business and your income. Now, back in the day, I heard someone talking about growing your annual income into your monthly income. And after years of trying, I finally did that and figured you might be interested in 12xing your income as well. So you can check out that video right here. And before you leave, make sure to press the like button below and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.